North Korea fires short-range projectiles following UN sanctions. Senior Republicans speak out against frontrunner Donald Trump after his 7th-state victory, while Ben Carson signals he may drop out of the race. And Israel's ministerial committee prepares to vote on a bill banning the use of loudspeakers in houses of worship. Good morning and welcome to I-24 News. I'm Tjong. North Korea fired several short-range projectiles towards the East Sea earlier today after the United Nations adopted the toughest sanctions to date against Pyongyang for its recent nuclear and long-range rocket tests. I-24 News reporter Tamara Ziv has more.
New United Nations sanctions imposed on Pyongyang Wednesday night break new ground, requiring all countries to inspect cargo destined for and coming from North Korea in all airports and seaports. North Korea responded immediately with a defiant display of military strength, launching a series of short-range projectiles into the sea off its east coast just hours after the resolution was adopted. The sanctions also ban or restrict exports of coal, iron ore and other minerals from North Korea and prohibit the supply of aviation fuel, including rocket fuel. The UN resolution came in response to the DPRK's nuclear test on January 6th and satellite launch on February 7th. The resolution was lauded by US President Barack Obama as a firm, united and appropriate response. Japan and South Korea also swiftly welcomed the new sanctions on Thursday morning.
The strong resolution adopted this time is a clear message to North Korea from the international community. The resolution also contains Japan's demands, and Japan will implement the resolution in close coordination with the international community.
Our government will make efforts with other countries to make North Korea give up the nuclear program to put an end to the tyranny of oppressing freedom and human rights of North Koreans.
Meanwhile, Russia's permanent representative to the UN, Vitaly Churkin, said Moscow hoped all parties involved in the Korean nuclear issue will resume the six-party talk as soon as possible.
Russia thinks only political and diplomatic negotiations can truly realize the denuclearization of the Korean peninsula.
All eyes are now on Russia and China to see if they fully enact these sweeping measures.
Over to the U.S. now, where senior Republicans are speaking out against frontrunner Donald Trump following his 7th-state victory in the Super Tuesday primaries. Though Trump has declared himself a unifier, several veteran Republican politicians have strongly objected to him so far, saying his nomination would ensure the GOP would lose the elections to the Democrats. One-time Republican nominee Mitt Romney is set to deliver a speech on Thursday in Utah, laying out his views on the state of the 2016 presidential race, and is expected to come out strongly against frontrunner Trump. Republican candidate Ben Carson, meanwhile, who has performed poorly, signaled he may drop out of the race. In a statement on Wednesday, he said he saw no path forward for his presidential campaign and will not attend Thursday's TV debate.
I've had an opportunity to really study our system. It has become a little bit discouraging seeing all the relationships that exist there. It is rotten. It is rotten to the core on both sides, Democrats and Republicans. The political class and their minions, which includes much of the media, you know, they don't like it when someone challenges their authority. And I think I'm probably the epitome of someone who challenges their authority. And I absolutely have refused to cooperate with the billionaires and the special interests, and they don't seem to get it.
Earlier, we were joined on the set by Amy Kaufman, host of Road to the White House, regarding Ben Carson's announcement and the GOP focus ahead of the next big primaries on March 15th.
GOP pressure on him was probably very, very immense to drop out. Look, we're going into these 2 weeks before those winner-take-all states on March 15th, specifically Florida, which was the most important state. The GOP has about 12, 13 days to fix this thing, to really stop Trump. I can say they're actually probably off to a good start if they have Ben Carson out of the race now. Now they have to put all their efforts on John Kasich. There is nothing more important, Benjamin, than getting John Kasich out of this race and narrowing the field to only Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz. That is the only way they can maybe, just maybe, stop Donald Trump from getting more delegates.
A female Palestinian terrorist stabbed a police officer in the Jordan Valley on Thursday morning while directing traffic. The attacker stabbed the officer in the shoulder, lightly wounding him. The assailant was arrested and taken into custody. The attack took place along Route 90 next to the Palestinian village of Uja near Jericho in the east of the West Bank. We were joined a short while ago on the phone by Israeli police spokesperson Mickey Rosenfeld regarding the latest attack and what the police is doing to tackle the ongoing wave of terror.
Well, the attack took place this morning just after 7 o'clock, where traffic police were on patrol on the main 90 road. They were called into an incident of trees that had fallen on the road, and all of a sudden near the Palestinian village of Uja, a female, young, in fact 14-year-old female Palestinian, stabbed one of our police officers from behind in his shoulder. He chased the suspect, and she was arrested at the scene. She's still being questioned at the moment. And emergency units arrived at the scene. Luckily, no major injuries at that specific terrorist. Well, we're coordinating both with the IDF in and around the major Palestinian areas. At the same time, heightened security continues with our police officers, border police, undercover units in major cities, including central bus stations, and obviously emphasis around Jerusalem and the Old City. And that will continue as long as necessary to get to those terrorists before they get and carry out terrorist attacks in different places.
Israel's Ministerial Committee for Legislation will vote Sunday on whether the coalition will support a bill banning the use of loudspeaker systems in houses of worship. The so-called muezzin law claims many people suffer from the noise caused by the muezzin's amplified calls to prayer 5 times a day, including in the early morning. Support by the powerful Ministerial Committee, which is made up of government ministers, would require faction leaders to ensure members to vote in favor of the law. But previous legislative efforts to stymie the calls have always failed to garner large-scale support, and it's unclear whether this newest effort will find more backing. We're now joined by Israeli Arab Parliament member from the Labour Party, Zohair Bahaloul. Mr. Bahaloul, thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Mr. Benjamin.
Good morning. What is your response to this suggested legislation?
It is not so surprised because this government continues its persecution against the Arab minority without fears of, for example, getting into the sensitive religious issue. This government doing that without hesitation, with the classic and consistency discrimination process, as well as recently this government did.
Well, this, of course, is also similar to an earlier law that was proposed in 2011, if I'm not mistaken. Would you say that it's another link, so to speak, in a chain of anti-Arab legislation?
We will fight against that. We will struggle against that because this field is so sensitive for us. The religious issue is the most dangerous policy this government adopted recently. And I think if it's passed, this law, it is a war against our minority, our Arab minority.
And what is your party and the left-wing opposition in general doing to address this?
I will discuss this issue with my party in the beginning of this week, and I think my party is so sensitive to the rights of the minorities in the country, and especially the Arab minority.
Okay, well, Mr. Zohair Bahaloul, thank you so very much for joining us, giving us more information regarding your position regarding this law. The World Health Organization delivered urgently needed medicines to the besieged Syrian city of Madamiyah on Wednesday, a spokesperson said. Madamiyah, on the southwestern edge of Damascus, has been under the control of opposition armed groups since mid-2012. Syrian government forces surrounded it in 2013, but began allowing aid access in mid-2014 under a local deal. However, government forces closed the only entry point on December 26 last year after allowing 50 to 100 government employees to leave, though the UN said no other civilians were warned of the closure. And those were the latest reports. Join us again in 20 minutes for more, and of course for any updates online. Thank you for watching.